Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about Pedri. Pedri has been sidelined for the next 5 to 6 weeks. Yes, it is true, and you guys have probably already heard that Pedri did encounter a quadricep injury, which is basically on your thigh, and he's going to be out for 5 to 6 weeks, almost a month or more than a month. It has been said that Pedri suffers from the same injury in the same leg that he suffered last February against Manchester United, and that later kept him out for 2 months. So who knows if Pedri is going to be out for 5 to 6 weeks exactly. It could be even more. It could be 7 to 8 weeks. We know how these injuries do occur and what happens right after. They're out for longer than originally expected. And it's really unfortunate for Barcelona and for us, right, this Barcelona fan base, to hear that Araujo and Pedri are going to be out for the next month or more, because these two players are one of our most important players. And we can argue these are also two players that are one of the best in their positions. So it's a huge blow for Xavi Hernandez. And we haven't even started our first third game this season, and we already have Araujo and Pedri out. I do want to shout out Top 11. Top 11 is a free-to-play football management mobile game where you get to play against anybody and any managers around the world. This is a game where you're going to be able to customize your club in terms of tactics, formations, to even customizing the stadiums, your own jerseys, your emblems, and so much more. It's extremely customizable. And the much anticipated annual release, Top 11 2024, has finally arrived. There is brand new playstyles, and it does come with the most requested community features. For example, it does have enhanced 3D live match experience with exciting new animations. You can even try out the new cameras during the match. There's night scenes, dynamic crowds, new highlights, and so much more. And so you have to check it out. The 3D feature, by the way, just came out last year, and the response has been amazing so far, and I want you guys to experience the exact same thing. And make sure you're not missing out on all this fun. If you guys do want to play this game for free, by the way, there is going to be a link down below that is clickable. From there, you would be able to download Top 11 and start creating your teams and go up against managers around the world. And there's also going to be a QR code that will be provided for you guys on the screen. And so I'll see you guys there. And thank you, Top 11, for supporting a content creator. But now let's go back into this video. And so here are going to be the matches that Pedri will be missing, and that is going to be against Villarreal, Osasuna, Real Betis. The fourth game will be against a Champions League team, and I swear if Barcelona have to debut against Arsenal, I'm gonna be so pissed, like so pissed, because most likely Araujo is not going to be there, Pedri is also not going to be there, and if we get Arsenal, I would not be ready for what's coming. And then the fifth game that Pedri will be missing out is going to be against Celta de Vigo, and he is expected to return maybe against Mallorca on the 27th of September or against Sevilla on October 1st, and that's again if he's actually out for 5 to 6 weeks. It could be more. We have seen this movie play out multiple times. And so look, this is not the first time Pedri has encountered a serious injury, and I think that with that first season that he did start back on the 2020-2021 season, it still haunts Pedri even until today. That was the first season that Pedri had in top European football, and in that season he played in every game and he participated in every national team game also. I think that it was recorded he played 75 to 78 games within a span of a year. That is a lot of minutes. And since then, after that year was completed, Pedri has only been encountering multiple injuries. There's even a stat that stated Pedri since 2021 has missed 56 matches and counting through injury. Under Xavi Hernandez, he has only been available for around 60% of the matches. And if we look at the injury history here, we can see that he has encountered 3 injuries in the 2021-2022 season. I'm not going to be counting the coronavirus one. And then the following season after that, which was the season that we have just finished, he encountered 2 injuries. And then we have this season, he has already encountered 1 injury. It's a huge blow for Xavi, a huge blow for Barcelona in general. And just so you guys can have some context, you guys can see just how important Pedri has been for Barcelona. It says here that since the 2021-2022 season with Pedri, Barcelona played 40 matches. They have won 33 of those matches. They have drawn 5 times and only lost twice in those 40 matches. And they have won 104 points out of 120 points possible. Then when it comes to without Pedri, they have played 38 matches and countered 17 wins, 10 draws, and 11 losses, and have received 61 points out of 114 points possible. So let's stop with these stats, right? And let's stop here. Pedri constantly getting injured is very worrying, but we're obviously not the only club dealing with multiple injuries and dealing with one of our most important players getting injured. For example, look at Manchester City. Kevin De Bruyne continues to get injured. He got injured last season, returned against Inter Milan in that final, and only played about 25 minutes before he got re-injured and had to leave that final. And we're talking about a Champions League final. It was a huge blow for Pep Guardiola Guardiola and Man City. Then he returned for the match against Arsenal in this season for the Community Shield after recovering for the full summer and got re-injured again, and he'll be out for the next multiple weeks. In terms of frustration, it's very similar to the one of Barcelona and Pedri. Then we have Real Madrid, where in the first 2 weeks of the season they saw Militao and Courtois get ACL injuries, and both of these players are going to be out for 8 to 9 months. So we're not the only club. There's a lot of other clubs in top European football that have their best players out. Now I do want to move on towards my next point. I was doing some research to understand just why is Pedri at the age of 20 years old encountering so many injuries? And I asked ChatGPT, I know that sounds very funny, but I asked ChatGPT to see what the AI tool can give me, what type of answers we can get, and why young players are getting more injuries than older players, because you would assume that it's the reverse, that the older players get more injuries compared to the young players. But in today's times, we're seeing our youngsters getting their minutes reduced because of injury over the older players. Why is Rodri not getting injured even though he is playing in every game for the past 3 years? And then we have Pedri, Ansu, Dembele getting injured every 3 months. So it threw me with a bunch of things. It does have things to do with growth and development, biomechanics, physical imbalances. Like it says, the young players may have muscle imbalances or isometrics due to growth spurts. Then we have overuse injuries, lack of rest and recovery. We don't know what these young players are doing outside of the stadium and outside of training. Maybe they're out going out with their friends, maybe not resting enough, and maybe they're consuming junk food. They could be drinking. We just never know. These are things that we're just never gonna know, but just to have a general idea, this could be one of the things that these young players are going through. But I did want to ask a further question, and I was looking at some other studies, and I wanted to ask, why is Pedri always getting injured during the training sessions? Not never during games. Sometimes there are occasions where Pedri gets injured during games, but mostly during training. And there was this study that was called The Association Between Training Frequency, Symptoms of Overtraining, and Injuries in Young Men Soccer Players. And it stated that yes, it's true that if you're being overused during the training sessions, and if your player is constantly getting injured during the training sessions, then there is something wrong, and that player is probably getting overtrained. It states here, and I quote, "Training frequency was significantly associated with overtraining symptoms. Overtraining symptoms were significantly associated with a number of injuries." Then if we look at the bottom, it says, "In conclusion, investigating the links between overtraining symptoms and injury in young men soccer players is critical, as it can assist in identifying overtraining warning signs, promote young players' health and safety, customize training regimens to individual needs, and contribute to a better understanding of sports-related injuries." So it's basically telling us that if Pedri does constantly get injured during the training sessions, there needs to be more customization for how Pedri does train to mitigate these constant injuries. So now let's step away from this conversation and let's talk about what Xavi himself has to deal with sportingly with the absence of Pedri. This is one of the reasons, my friends, on why Xavi has been pushing for the signing of Lo Celso. And I'm going to be showing you guys a video so you guys can see exactly why Lo Celso is being picked. You're going to be like, oh yeah, this does remind me of Pedri and what he does between the lines. So like I've said, there's a reason why Xavi is welcoming the signing of Lo Celso. If one gets injured between Gundogan and Pedri, because these are two players who know how to play between the lines, then Barcelona is in deep trouble, I would say, because now you're only left with one more player that's very creative, and that is Gundogan. We used to also have Dembele, who had a very strong creative output and can find those through balls, but now we don't have him, and now Pedri's out because of injury, and so we're only left with Gundogan. And can you imagine Gundogan at the age of 32 years old getting injured, which is very much possible? It could happen anytime. If that ends up happening and we have Gundogan out, Pedri out, then Barcelona is going to be in such deep trouble. And I'm not even trying to be pissed on our wingers to make those crosses into the box. Now we're going to be having players like Frankie, Oriol Romeo, Xavi in the midfield, but there's no real creative output. I think that Frankie is the most creative out of all, but his profile is nothing like Gundogan's or Pedri's, which is why I even myself would welcome the signing of Lo Celso. He has the most experience on creating through balls through the middle, and I hope that this does end up being a learning lesson for Xavi and the rest of the technical staff. We need to build a team that knows how to play and bring results without Pedri being included, because remember how I did talk about how Guardiola always misses on Kevin De Bruyne because he gets injured a lot. Unlike Xavi Hernandez, Pep Guardiola knows how to bring and adapt his team with the absence of Kevin De Bruyne and still bring great results. Xavi needs to build the exact same strategy. Like, why does Man City stay at the same level without Kevin De Bruyne, or if not become even a better team without Kevin De Bruyne? And we all know that Kevin De Bruyne is Man City's best creative output. That is because Pep Guardiola knows how to adapt his team in terms of changing formations, the systems, the roles of the players. Xavi has to build towards that, and I know that it does take some time, right? Pep Guardiola Guardiola has been at Man City for the past 8 years. Xavi has only been here for 2 years. So it is going to be taking some time, but this should also tell us that Xavi should be starting and adapting his team in this way. So for now, in the short term, it is going to be giving opportunities for the young players. Like, I know that our midfield is most likely going to be Oriol Romeo, Gundogan, Frankie, and Gavi. I think that's a midfield that can still bring a great level to the club if they're all 100% healthy, and then you have Sergi Roberto floating around those areas. But it does give more opportunities to players like Fermin Lopez, who, remember, he scored a goal and provided an assist against Real Madrid. I think that Fermin Lopez is the closest profile to Pedri, and so I believe that this could be a huge chance for the player. And then maybe, right, just maybe, this could give the introduction towards Noah Darovic, a player who has already brought an assist for Barcelona Athletic. He has played in every game that Barca Athletic has had, and also he has been in the training sessions with Xavi Hernandez earlier today, in the exact same day that Pedri got injured. So like, is this a coincidence, or is this something that could be possibly true? Did Xavi Hernandez know that Pedri was injured, which is why he invited Noah Darovic into the first team training session to see what he could do as a number 10, because he is only a pure number 10, a pure creative output like Ozil. So we'll see. As of now, like I've said, in the short term, for now, we are okay with the midfield options that we have, and we'll see if Barcelona end up signing Lo Celso. If Xavi Hernandez thinks that it is so needed for Lo Celso to come in this summer, then it could happen. But if we cannot do that, if Tottenham says we don't want no loan, we want you to buy Lo Celso from us and be a permanent transfer, and Barcelona just cannot do it at all, then we're gonna have to rely on our youngsters. And I think that our youngsters can do the job. We just need to have huge backing on Fermin Lopez and Noah Darovic if he does get called. So that is going to be wrapping up today's video, and I will see you guys in the next one.